Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Velvet Lounge Life. Nature, peace, hope, and we will get through this edition. So this is a continuation of my virtual diary of what it is like to be the spouse or partner of a level 1 hazardous duty essential government employee at this time. Today was not the best day. Why? Because I could tell that both of our tempers are running a little bit short because, my husband comes in, he does what he needs to do so that he can get rest, and then he turns around within maybe 4 hours, 3 hours sometimes, but it's been maybe 4 hours, and he's right out the door again. So, and also I can tell that he's getting really tired, which is what we were bickering about today, and he was reconsidering whether he should take tomorrow, which is Sunday, and Monday off, which are regularly scheduled days for him, and he hasn't had a day off really since this began. He had a few days off once since this entire nightmare, if you will, began. So me being the dutiful spouse, of course, I have to make sure he can remain healthy and also, diligent, alert, etc., as he's doing the work that he does, especially with the population of people he has to deal with. So that was not good, but before he left, we did have a good husband, wife, and puppy time, and of course that made things better. So something that you have to make sure to do is, even if you guys do disagree on something, even if you have an all-out argument, which we did not have, but you should make sure that that person leaves knowing that everything is okay. You can agree to disagree, and you'll discuss this later, but they should leave knowing that they're cared for, loved, something like that. You don't want your last conversation, if there has to be one where it was something that was contentious. So one of the things I was thinking about is the word 40. 40 means 40. And the word quarantine is derived from the word cuarenta, which is a Hispanic Spanish word. Whether it's in Mexico or wherever, it's a Spanish origin word. And usually the reason that the word quarantine came about is due to the Spanish flu, and the amount of time that they quarantined people for was 40 days, which is what the word cuarenta means, 40. So 40 días would be 40 days. And we have people who are complaining about being quarantined for 14 days. Get over yourselves. Things could be so much worse. We are lucky, if you think about it, that the only thing that we have to do to sort of hold off the worst thing that could possibly happen to us, really there's two things. One is death. Number one worst thing. You were put on the earth to live and to hopefully have a purposeful life. I know a lot of people waste their lives. They end up in bad situations because they made the choices to be there at the end of the day, unless you're a child that has no control over your situation. And also the other horrible part of it could be permanent damage. Although some people will heal, there are others that will always live with the scars of this and will never fully heal. But at least they're alive. So when you're thinking about what you have to do to possibly save yourself, save any other human you even slightly care about, as well as the strangers and those that would help you if the time came, hopefully it doesn't, but if the time ever comes, and if it's not now, it will be in the future. If all you have to do is be in quarantine for a number of days, wash your hands, which you should have been doing throughout your entire life anyway, several times a day, and at all of the appropriate times, and wear a face mask when you go out in public, and any other teeny tiny, very basic thing that we could teach our 4-year-olds to do, and they would actually follow it without complaining and arguing, except for the very few that are probably, just a result of parenting. Then stop complaining, people. I've heard so many people complain. It's crazy. I haven't been out in public, but of course, people call, I talk to people, and, they're like, or even sometimes you'll see it in different, like, news reports or videos or whatever. The news isn't really showing this as much, but you'll see people out there purposely doing stupid stuff. Someone in our town, was attacked by another woman, a sloppy-ass woman who spat in her face. And the woman whose face she spat in is a nurse. Unbelievable. Even during these Trumpian, dumpian times, we have to be the stronger people. And we have to be the ones to be more diligent, more careful, because people who support his ignorance are the ones out there making things more dangerous for the majority of the population. So if you have to, like, I wouldn't have stood there and argued with the woman, even though, believe me, I am a fighter. But in this time, knowing that simply being breathed on, obviously having bodily fluid spewed on you, it's very dangerous. And obviously some people have no respect for those that have put themselves out there, even though they could have stayed home. They could have called in sick. They could have quit their jobs instead of dealing with this. And, most of the people who are out in public are probably level 1 essential people because, yeah, they're going to work, but afterwards they still have families to go home to. They still have chores that need to be done, groceries that need to be picked up, etc. So just be aware of those people because they could care less about what you or your family have sacrificed. So another thing I was thinking about is, there are people who are like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And I get it. That totally makes sense. There are moments when I'm sitting there saying, what else can I do, like, safely? And, there are people who, feel that more. Some people feel it less, and some might not feel it at all. All of those feelings actually, in a way, are legitimate. However, what you have to do is put things into perspective. And you really have to think about what you can do in reality, like realistically, without putting you, yourself, and others at risk. Also think about what you can control. Like, there are things that will be so far beyond your control, but what can you control now? Maybe there's something you haven't been in control of that now you need to step up to the plate and take control of it. If it makes sense and it doesn't harm yourself or the public, then go ahead and do that. Especially, of course, I'm talking about doing these things by following the rules of the CDC and your medical professionals that you trust. Not a stranger on television in a White House who's talking about not wearing a mask, not being a good example of leadership is not something that you should follow. Actually, follow the smart people. That isn't one of them. Another thing I was thinking about, and my husband and I were talking about this just a little bit the other day, is, keeping up your exercise routine, or if you don't have one, now is a good time to get one. Why? To boost your immunity, you need to be strong. If you are just, suddenly have adopted to being a couch potato, this is probably the worst time that you could do that. You can go outside, or if you own a property, and walk around your property, do exercises on your property, just simply walking around. I don't care if your lot is like a third of an acre. Walking around the house, making a game of it, especially if you have kids or a pet. You won't look as silly, but at this point, who cares about what you look like? You're trying to live and survive and keep others safe. Also, inside your home, maybe you don't want to go outside fully. I would say at least open the windows if the weather permits. And you have stairs. You can walk up and down your stairs. You can walk around in rooms in your house, etc. If you don't have exercise equipment, there are a lot of videos online as to how to exercise, such as calisthenics, which is what I do, and I've been doing now for like 2 years. And you don't require really any equipment for 90% of the exercises that they have, as well as there are other things, yoga. Start belly dancing. You don't need anything to do that. I'm sure you have a scarf around your house if you want to get fancy about it. But make sure you're getting up and you're moving. My grandmother lived to be almost 100 years old until the care that she was being given was very scant to almost negligible. And she said, and I asked her when she was probably about 92, like how does she believe she lived to be, as old as she was? And she still had many more years to live after that, thank God. And she said, I kept moving. She's like, whatever you do, just keep moving. If you have to walk back and forth in your own house, 100 times a day, do it. Because once you just sit still, then you're not going to get up one day. And you're going to wonder why you're not getting up. And then it'll become harder to get up. So you also want to be healthy after this is over. But like I said, I don't believe now is the time to hog up on junk food and, just sitting around. Okay, are you going to indulge a little bit? Of course. And I think that if you can control it, yeah, you should do that as a treat. But don't make it your normal routine. So as I keep telling people, listen to what your doctors say. If you're not sure what to do, don't, suddenly go searching for some stranger's information, but actually give your doctor's office a call. Some of them have pre-recorded messages with advice. And also, like I said, you could call the Centers for Disease Control and also look at if you have a state that is doing the right thing. In your state, leadership has been trying to do the right thing from the very beginning. Go out to their website and see what they suggest. However, if you live in a state that is so trashy, they didn't give a shit about you, and they allowed spring breaks to happen and Mardi Gras and different things, or they're not even shut down or doing anything to curve this wave, this bell curve of ugliness right now, then look into what other states that are trying to do the best they can for their citizens and what they have been doing. You don't have to be stuck just looking at information from your state. And if your state hasn't shut down yet, you still probably should do the best that you can to take precautions. And remember, OSHA is out there to help make sure that you're in a safe work environment. So if you feel as if you're at risk, the Commission on Human Rights is there to also help people who are still working and feel that their rights and safety are at risk. Make sure that you're always taking notes, getting documentation, take pictures, whatever proof you can get. And, talk to, anyone that you need to talk to make sure that you are safe. Because at the end of the day, if you die, it's over for you. There's no reset button. There's no going back. I mean, if you believe in reincarnation, maybe you'll come back as a butterfly or a bird or something. But at the end of the day, you're a human walking on two legs on this earth, probably if you're walking. And that is how you want to remain. You don't want something preventable to be the reason that you are no longer here for your loved ones and people who care about you. So those are the things I was thinking about last night and today. And, you know, I also want to thank, and I can't thank you enough, the people who have sent beautiful emails. They've left messages and comments on these YouTube posts, which is so helpful because that means other people might hopefully be helped by this, you know, these posts as well. And, you know, the folks that took the second to click the thumbs up, and we really do appreciate that. I actually had a couple people ask, because they know, obviously, which you know, my husband's designation, as far as, you know, his level rating. And of course he's out there in the front, he's right in the line of fire every single day, especially because they don't have enough PPE tools that they need to do their jobs, but they're doing them anyway, and they're doing them the best they can. And it is sort of like playing, I don't know if this sounds right for me to say it, but like Russian roulette. There's that one bullet in the chamber, and if you get it, then it doesn't mean, and that's the other thing, you have to remember with this virus, it doesn't mean that it's a death sentence to probably 80% of the people that are going to get it. However, 20% is a lot of people who will perish if they get this. It may not be you. You may be simply a carrier, and you might actually give it to other people. Whether you love those people, know those people or not, could be total strangers you give it to. But according to the people that have had it, and my experience with the H1N1 when it was out there virus, you are going to suffer. You are. And you may, you know, your lungs, for example, may be damaged for the rest of your life. Also, just the fact that the rehabilitation of getting through it, the times that you will not be able to sleep, you know, from the sickness, but also from the medications that they're going to have to give you to try to make sure that you live, you know, because at the end of the day, that's what the jobs of especially hospitals are. And then it's up to you, your doctor, and any rehabilitation therapist to try to get you, you know, back to the healthiest point they can get you to. So just some things to remember and to consider. If you want to help us, you know, all you need to do really is subscribe to this channel. Give us a click as far as a thumbs up, leave a comment on the actual channel post, watch some of our other videos. You don't need to, I know we had some people who want to send us things. You know, we really, really appreciate all of the offers, but we're not asking for anything. We're just asking that hopefully we can all work together and come out of this on the other side. And hopefully we lose hardly any more people due to this. It's like awful to know how many people are suffering. You have to think, for every person that dies, there are probably 1,000 people that person impacted, and they're also really, really sad. So take care of yourselves. Remember that your health is your wealth, and without your health, you have absolutely nothing. So please, 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 please take care of yourself and follow safety guidelines. And as a matter of fact, be proactive. And if you can do more and be more, then do that.